part 2 of my 4-part video on the human digestive system. I want to talk about 3 parts. There are 10 parts that can be found in the human digestive system. But I want to, in this part of the video, expose us to 3 parts of the human digestive system. Please just stay with me. First, I want to talk about the salivary gland. So the picture will be flashed again. Just look at the screen. So you see the location where you can find the salivary glands. The salivary glands can be found in your mouth. That's where you have the salivary gland. What does this salivary gland do? This salivary gland produces saliva. So this gland produces saliva. This salivary gland produces saliva. Saliva is produced in the salivary gland. Please take note. And so that one we call spit. That's saliva. And this saliva is produced especially when you begin to smell food. You're very hungry and you begin to smell food. Your mom is preparing one delicious meal, or you're walking by one eatery and they are cooking something, and you start to salivate. That's your salivary gland at work, preparing your body for digestion, preparing your mouth for digestion. Just stay with me. So what do we know? 1, we know that the salivary glands are found in the mouth. 2, we know that the salivary gland produces saliva. This saliva, what does saliva do? Saliva acts as a lubricant. Saliva acts as a lubricant. This saliva acts as a lubricant, so that by the time you chew your food and all, the saliva will mix with the food and make it very easy for you to swallow your food. What do we know? Salivary gland produces saliva. The salivary gland, or the glands, are found in your mouth. The saliva produced by the salivary gland acts as a lubricant. It makes it very easy for you to chew your food and to swallow your food. But that's not the only function of the saliva. In saliva, there is a type of enzyme we call amylase. So some people call it amylase. So the enzyme in saliva, we have amylase, and amylase is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrate enzymes are enzymes that act on carbohydrates. They act on starch. Starch is a polysaccharide. They act on starch to break starch into the simple sugar we call monosaccharide, glucose. So when a polysaccharide, e.g. starch, is broken down into a monosaccharide, e.g. glucose, by the enzyme amylase, that kind of digestion is the chemical one. From the previous video, I said there are 2 types of digestion: mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. I also said that the mechanical digestion does not involve enzymes, but the chemical digestion involves enzymes. So chemical digestion uses enzymes to break down the food you eat. Carbohydrates, rice, yam, those of us that eat eba, ripe plantain, and all this food that contains carbohydrates. When you chew this kind of food in your mouth, the saliva that mixes with that food, there's this digestive enzyme, a type of carbohydrates that is called amylase. That is where the chemical digestion of carbohydrates starts. So for those of us who will be writing JAM, these multiple choice questions, please just note this, that the chemical digestion of carbohydrate starts in your mouth. It begins in your mouth. It does not end in your mouth actually, but it begins in your mouth. Take note, the chemical, I didn't say digestion, I said the chemical digestion of carbohydrate starts in your mouth. Why are we saying it starts in your mouth? It starts in your mouth because of the presence of the digestive enzyme we call amylase, which is a type of carbohydrates. This enzyme is found in your saliva. So when you chew this food, the enzyme will mix with it and start the process of the breakdown. That's what the salivary glands do for you and for me. It enables what? The production of saliva, which acts as a lubricant to make it easy to swallow food. 1. 2, the enzyme amylase is also found in the saliva, and this enzyme starts the chemical digestion of carbohydrate in your mouth. I said the chemical digestion of carbohydrate begins or starts in your mouth and in your mouth. Multiple choice question, that's the answer. So where does the chemical digestion of carbohydrate begin? It begins in your mouth. End of the story. We have looked at the salivary glands. So I'm going to look at the second part of the digestive system is the oesophagus. That's what we call it biologically. English people will use the word gullet. And if we want to describe it, we can call it food pipe. Look at the picture. That long tube is about 20 centimeters long. It's called the oesophagus. There are other names to call it. Gullet, food pipe. It is called food pipe or food tube because it allows what? Food goes through it. This oesophagus is found between your mouth and your stomach. So that means the oesophagus is a connector. It connects your mouth to your stomach. So esophagus is the means by which the food that enters your mouth gets into your stomach. It's a channel for transport. It enables that passage. The only function of this organ, the only thing it does for digestion is to enable or to make sure that food moves quickly into your stomach. So I like that you take note of this. That's the function. That's the only thing it does. Remember, I said that the esophagus is also called gullet. English name, gullet. Biology, we call it esophagus. Biologically, esophagus. English, they call it gullet. Descriptively, it's called the food pipe or the food tube. The only function of this organ is to enable food move from your mouth into your stomach. Don't forget that the esophagus is a connector. It connects what? Your mouth to your stomach. And saliva that is produced by the salivary gland also makes it possible for the food to move down freely through the esophagus and into your stomach. So far, I've looked at the salivary glands. What did I say? It produces saliva. Saliva is a lubricant. It makes it easy for you to chew and swallow. 2, in saliva is the carbohydrate enzyme we call amylase. Carbohydrates is an enzyme. An example of a carbohydrate is amylase. Amylase acts on carbohydrate, breaks starch, which is a complex carbohydrate, into simple carbohydrate like glucose. And the chemical digestion of these carbohydrates we eat starts in the mouth. Then the esophagus, which is also called gullet or food pipe descriptively, connects your mouth to your stomach. And it enables food to move from your mouth to your stomach. It is about 20 cm long. The only function of the esophagus is to move food from your mouth into your stomach. I'm going to spend more time here on the stomach. The stomach is the next part I want to talk about. Very important. Please, if you have not been paying attention, clean your ears very well and listen to me. It's important to pay attention to this because questions you answer from here, they will throw you with every 3 questions, trick, T-R-I-C-K, from the stomach. So if you're with me and you stay with me, it will crack whatever question that will come. Whether you're writing IGCSE, GCSE, just follow, stay with me, so that we will look at this part of the digestive system called the stomach. stomach. Biologically, we call it gastric. Latin, gastrum. The Latin name for stomach is gastrum. So anything that relates to the stomach, say gastric juice, gastric ulcer, gastric this, gastric that, gastrointestinal, gastric, stomach. That's what we call it biologically, gastric. The stomach is shaped like the letter J. Look at the picture again. I'm going to display that picture again. Look at the third part of the human digestive system. The stomach is what I want to talk about. And I said we call it what? Gastric. Gastric. That's what it is called. Latin, gastrum. That is it. So just know it. This stomach does a lot. There's a lot it does. Remember, food moves from your mouth through your oesophagus. It enters the stomach. The stomach is a wonderful organ. It's just a small organ. And this small organ called the stomach, if you look at the picture again, is found between your oesophagus and your small intestine. The stomach is a small organ found between the oesophagus and the small intestine. Between this is where your stomach is found. We're going to look at the function of this part of the digestive system called the stomach. What are the roles, or what roles does this basic organ play in digestion? The first thing I'd like us to take note of is that the stomach produces one, it releases protease. Protease is an enzyme, one of the digestive enzymes, and this protease acts on protein. So this protease enzyme is released by the stomach. So when you eat any food that is proteinous, know that the digestion of that food, that proteinous food, starts in your stomach. Because you can't find protease in the mouth. What the salivary gland releases is saliva, and in saliva you have amylase, not protease. So the digestion of protein begins in the stomach. I said the digestion of protein, proteinous food, beans, egg, milk, cheese, all this proteinous food we eat, this food, the digestion begins in the stomach. What enables the digestion? Protease enzyme. Take note of this. So one of the functions of the stomach is to release what? Protease enzyme. One function. The second function of the stomach, there are two basic functions of the stomach. Two. So the stomach releases protease, one. Two, it releases acid. There are two things released by this organ. One, protease. Two, acid. The acid released by the stomach is the one we call HCl, hydrochloric acid. And this acid has a pH of 2 and 3. The pH is 2 to 3. That means the acid is very acidic. That means the concentration of the acid is high. You know, for those of us who do not know what I mean by pH, pH is a scale that is used to measure the acidity or the alkalinity of solutions. So if it's not just enough for you to tell us that the solution is acidic, you have to tell us the level of acidity. How acidic? What is the concentration of the acid? So to determine the concentration of the acid, we use the word, the pH scale. The pH scale runs from, okay, let me just show us quickly because a lot of us might not know. So this point is 7. This 7 is neutral. And we have 0 here. And we have 14 here. pH scale is it's just like this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that this is 6, this is 5, this is 4, this is 3, this is 2, and this is 1. The closer the pH is to 0, the more acidic the solution is. This is neutral, and the farther away it is from 7, the more alkaline. So this is acidic. This place, from this part to this part, acidic, and this part, like this, is alkaline. So we just have to take note of this. This is 8. I don't want to bend down, please pardon me. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I'm talking about what? The function of the stomach. Remember, don't get lost, that the stomach releases an acid, hydrochloric acid, and the pH of the acid is around this range. That's to tell you that the acid in your stomach is really acidic. I was teaching a student yesterday in the UK privately, and I was trying to help him understand this. And he paused. I was like, Miss Ruth, if the pH of the hydrochloric acid in the stomach is like this, then how come it does not burn the hell out of us? And I told him that I'm happy that you understand this concept, that it is really acidic, and this is going to be a concentrated acid. That means the stomach is heavily guarded, and the adaptations that the stomach has to prevent the acid from corroding the walls of the stomach. So if anything happens, say someone's stomach is having an ulcer, or the stomach becomes ulcerated, then the person begins to feel an excruciating pain. The stomach acid is so strong, the level of concentration is high, to the point that if you can even put your hand in your mouth like this, it goes through your esophagus. When it touches your stomach, let's say it is possible, by the time your hand comes out of your mouth, you will notice that there's some kind of reaction that has taken place because of the concentration of this acid. Back to base. The stomach is the third part of the digestive system. Two functions of the stomach is to release protease. Protease is an enzyme. 2, the stomach also releases an acid. 2 things. The function of this protease acid, this protease enzyme, is to digest protein. And on that premise, I said that the digestion of protein begins in the stomach. The stomach also releases acid, hydrochloric acid. This is the pH of the acid, about 2 to 3, very concentrated. What does the acid do? Please, before I tell you what the acid does, let me tell you what the acid does not do. The acid released by the stomach does not directly break down food. The enzyme responsible for the breakdown of protein is protease. What the acid does is to provide an enabling environment for the stomach. The acid is to make sure that the stomach remains acidic. Why? Because this protease enzyme in the stomach, the protease enzyme in the stomach requires an acidic medium to work. So if the condition in the stomach is not acidic, or the acidity is not around this range, it becomes difficult for protease enzyme to work, and the enzyme might be denatured. So the acid provides an enabling environment, providing the optimum or best environment for the protease enzyme to work. One function of the stomach acid is to make the stomach acidic so that protease enzymes can work. 2, this stomach acid release also acts as the first line of defense. When you eat food, drink water that has some pathogens in it. By pathogens, they are microorganisms that cause disease. Simply put, pathogens are disease-causing organisms. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, they are pathogens. So when we eat food containing these pathogens, or we drink water and there are pathogens in the water and they enter the stomach, the acid acts as the first line of defense. It helps to do what? Destroy these pathogens before they can make us to feel ill. So what have I said so far to round this video, this part of the video? I said the 3 parts we can find so far in the digestive system. We have the salivary glands. I've explained the function of the salivary glands. We have the oesophagus. I've told us what the esophagus does and where we can find it. Even the stomach, I've said that the stomach, also called gastric, is between the esophagus and the small intestine. There are 2 basic functions of the stomach. 1, to release the protease enzyme. 2, to release acid. I said protease enzymes act to break down protein. That means the digestion of protein, I'm saying it again, the digestion of protein begins in the stomach, while the digestion of carbohydrates begins in the mouth. The digestion of protein begins in the stomach because it is in the stomach that protease enzyme are first released. Then in the mouth, the type of enzyme released is amylase in the saliva. The stomach produces acid. The acid does not go into direct digestion. What the acid does is to provide an enabling environment for protease enzyme to work. Because in your stomach, I'm not talking about your small intestine, in your stomach, this protease enzyme require an acidic condition. So for this enzyme to work optimally, the condition must be acidic. I'm going to make a video about enzymes. In that video, a separate video, not in digestion, I will not leave this and start talking about enzymes. I'm going to define for us what enzyme is. And when I say the enzyme is denatured, why I'm going to use the expression denatured, not killed. So it is important that we take note. Be on the lookout again as I bring 3 more parts in my next part video of the digestive system. I'll talk about the liver, I'll talk about the gallbladder, I'll talk about the pancreas. These 3 organs. I'll tell us what they do and the role they play in digestion. Until I meet you again. You might see this video and you're not in key stage 4. You might not even be a student, but you know somebody who is a student, who is at this level, who needs to understand this, who needs a good teacher. Send the video to the person. Let the person watch. That way, you'll be helping to help someone. Thank you, and until I see you again, keep practicing, keep learning. If you want to find out where this, we can find this, if you want to get more information, you can just meet me in the comment section. Maybe I can send materials to you. If you want a personal, private session as well, for those of us who can afford to contact me privately, I'm also open. There are 1 or 2 slots that I can fix anyone who is interested. So you can have a personalized, structured, and systematic session with me. Until I meet you again.